Welcome to Bible Facts. For this episode we will share about the location of the Ark of Noah. The story in the Old Testament Bible about the flood covering the earth is one of the important stories where God saw that all humans had done evil and there was only Noah, his wife and children who finally survived the great flood. The story of Noah also marks a great event because of the rescue of the animals on earth. But after the flood began to recede and Noah's Ark stopped at a location, the Bible says that in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the Ark ran aground on the mountains of Ararat, Genesis 8:4. The Ararat Mountains are a mountain range in Turkey. In modern maps, the mountains of Ararat, which in standard Hebrew are also called Ararat, are the highest peaks in modern Turkey. This mountain is a volcano located some distance in northeastern Turkey, 16 kilometers west of Iran and 32 kilometers south of Armenia. In the Israelite story, it is identified that this mountain is where Noah's Ark rested after the flood mentioned in it. Where is Noah's Ark now? Has evidence of the ruins been found? For information, Noah's Ark is a very large ship. John Whitcomb and Henry Morris in their book, The Genesis Flood, describe the results of a very careful analysis of the data relating to the size and carrying capacity of the Ark. They noted that the Ark was 437.5 feet, 131.25 meters, long, 72.92 feet, 21.88 meters, wide, and 43.75 feet, 13.13 meters, high, calculated at 17.5 inches per cubit. The Ark had 3 decks, Genesis 6:16, so the total area of the decks was approximately 95,700 square feet, 28,710 square meters, and the total volume was 1,396,000 cubic feet, 418,800 cubic meters. The gross tonnage of the Ark was about 13,960 tons, which is comparable to some of today's giant ships. The carrying capacity will be equal to 522 standard-sized train cars, each of which can accommodate 240 sheep. So, at least the Ark could fit 125,000 sheep. In addition, Genesis 6:14 tells us that beside the 3 decks, there were still rooms designed to house the animals. If you count each pair that entered the Ark, then space is needed only for 35,200 animals, plus 5 for each halal animal, which is actually only a very small number. But for completeness of the argument, let us just take half of the types that are included in the Ark. There, i.e. 8,800 by 5 equals 44,000 individuals, so the maximum number of animals that enter the Ark was 79,000 individuals. Since it is possible that initially there were only a small number of species, it is not impossible to imagine that the Ark could contain all of the animals, along with room for food supplies. This is inferred from the fact of animal breeding, which causes a wide variety of species in the animal world today. Also the fact that most land animals were smaller than sheep, and it can be assumed that younger, smaller animals were brought. Although it is very large, but where is it currently located? As published on the New Vision website, one day in the summer of 1916, a Russian pilot flying over Ararat found a strange object at an altitude of 14,000 feet or 4,267 meters, which resembled a submarine. His report was verified by another pilot. The news then reached the ears of Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, who formed a scientific expedition consisting of 150 military engineers and experts to climb Mount Ararat. They reportedly found the object suspected to be a boat and took specimens there. Scientific documents about the existence of the Ark were then handed over to an officer to be presented to the Tsar in Moscow, which was being hit by the revolution in 1917 known as the Bolshevik Revolution. The officer was shot dead before completing his duties. The documents fell into the hands of Leon Trotsky, a figurehead of the Bolshevik Revolution. So far, his whereabouts are unknown. One of the locations marked by the Turkish government as the site of Noah's Ark is Durupinar. The unique size and shape of this structure has led some to believe it to be the former original Noah's Ark. However, there are scientists and creationists who find these structures simply interesting natural formations. According to local reports, heavy rains combined with 3 earthquakes revealed the formation from the surrounding mud heap in May 1948. It was later identified by an officer of the Turkish Armed Forces, Captain Lon Dürpner, in an aerial photograph of the Turkish Air Force during a mapping mission. For NATO in October 1959, the site was neglected until 1977, when it was rediscovered and promoted by archaeologist and amateur adventurer Ron Wyatt. During the 1980s, Wyatt repeatedly tried to draw attention to the site. In 1985, Wyatt was accompanied by David Fasold and geophysicist John Baumgartner on an expedition which was later recorded in Fasold's book The Ark of Noah. As soon as Fasold saw the site, he declared it to be a stranded former ship. Fasold brought with him modern ground-tracking radar equipment and a frequency generator, which was set up to look for iron, and examine the presence of iron in the formation. The ground penetration radar produces regular internal structures that are recorded in reports to the Turkish government. In a nearby village, Kazan, formerly known as Arzap, large, specially shaped stones were also found which were thought to be anchor stones. It is characterized by the presence of a large hole at the top which was deliberately made to tie a rope to the rock. Anchor stones were characteristic of ancient ships and are similar to today's hurricane anchors. Similar stones have been found in the Nile and other places in the Mediterranean region. Like the stones discovered by Wyatt and Fasold, they are heavy and flat in shape with a hole at one end for attaching rope. The goal is to create a ballast in the water or along a shallow sand bed. The stones are tied to one end of the boat, and the ballast at the rear will cause the fore end of the ship to always point to the cardinal directions and break up big waves. The flood in Noah's Ark occurred more than 5,000 years ago. Of course, it will be very difficult to find archaeological evidence with the right to prove it. It could be because of climate change and tectonic plates of the Earth. The Ark was buried under the earth and covered by mud and soil, or even destroyed because Noah's Ark was made of wood. Therefore, even though the location of Durrub Pinar is the strongest candidate as the site of the relic of Noah's Ark, it cannot be ascertained that this is where the shipwreck of Noah's Ark was, in contrast to archaeological sites in Israel which are still well preserved to this day.